He's not coming back. The moon hung high above the temple roof, round and silent, like a lantern suspended in the sky. A gentle breeze stirred the bamboo surrounding the garden, and each leaf whispered a truth that words could never fully express. In a small cabin beside the pond lived Master Kaisen, an elderly monk known for his deep serenity and the stories he shared with the young ones when night began to fall. That evening, as incense drifted in slow, curling spirals, a disciple approached, his eyes clouded with nostalgia. "Master," he whispered, "I can't stop thinking about what I've lost, about what's gone, about what's never coming back." Kaisen nodded gently, unsurprised, almost as if he had been expecting those very words. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his gaze to the moon's reflection shimmering on the still surface of the pond. There, the moon looked even more perfect, though it was only a reflection. "Come," the master said after a while. "Sit with me. Tonight, I'll tell you a story that can only be heard when the heart is ready to let go." The disciple obeyed, folding his legs over the tatami mat as the breeze softly touched his face. The master closed his eyes and began to speak, not with a loud voice, but with the quietude of one who has learned to listen to silence. "There was once a solitary tree atop a quiet hill. There was once a solitary tree atop a quiet hill," Master Kaisen began. "For many years, that tree shared its branches with a bird adorned in blue feathers. Each morning, the bird would sing a gentle song, and each evening it would return to perch on the same branch, as if time itself could not touch their friendship. The tree grew used to its presence. Even on rainy days or during cold nights, it would wait for the bird's return. It never spoke, trees do not speak. But in its sap, in the way its leaves rustled when the bird arrived, there was a quiet joy hidden deep within. Then one day, without warning, the bird did not come back. Days passed, then weeks, then seasons. Still, the tree continued to stretch out its favorite branch, the one the bird always used, waiting with the patience of the earth. But the bird never returned. At first, the tree refused to believe it. Each sunset, its branches drooped with sorrow. It looked toward the sky, asking with its stillness what it could not say. "Why? Where are you? When will you come back?" But no answer came, and so the tree remained, until something inside it began to change. "What changed, Master?" the disciple asked in a whisper. Kaisen smiled gently, as if he had known the question would come. "You'll understand soon enough. But first, let us listen to how the story unfolds." "At first," Master Kaisen continued, "the tree resisted the emptiness. It felt as though something had been torn from it, as if that branch the bird once favored was now incomplete. Sadness caused some of its leaves to wither before their time. The sap flowed slower, heavier. All of its being seemed to lean toward the absence. But time, which waits for no one, kept moving forward. One morning, as the dew sparkled on its leaves like tiny pearls of light, the tree noticed something different. It wasn't that the bird had returned. No, it was something else. The wind. A wind it had never quite felt this way before. It slipped through its branches with a new softness, almost playful. And as it moved them, it spoke. Not with words, but with presence. For the first time, the tree did not feel pain when it looked at its empty branch. Felt space. A space it had once refused to see. It was no longer a void, it was a new way of being. That was when the tree understood, the master said softly, that the bird was not coming back, and that was okay. The disciple took a deep breath, letting the words fall into him like gentle drops. Kaisen looked at him with tenderness, but did not disturb the silence that followed, because in that silence, something was beginning to grow. Master Kaisen turned his gaze back to the pond. The moon's reflection still floated there, though a gentle ripple now distorted it. And yet it was still the moon. "The tree," he said softly, "learned to bloom again, no longer to attract the bird, nor to decorate its waiting. It bloomed simply because it was its nature. Each new bud was a gesture of acceptance. Each falling leaf in autumn, an act of surrender. And in spring, when other birds flew nearby, the tree did not lean toward them with hope. It let them pass. It greeted them with its shade, blessed them with its silence, but it did not hold on." "Did it never feel sadness again?" the disciple asked. "Of course it did," the master replied with a serene smile. "Sometimes, on cloudy days, the tree would remember the blue song, but instead of aching for what was gone, it gave thanks for having heard it. It understood that not everything that comes is meant to stay, and not everything that leaves does so without leaving a mark." The disciple bowed his head, and for the first time it wasn't out of sorrow, but relief. He felt something inside him gently loosen, as if an invisible knot had finally been untied. The silence in the garden was no longer an echo of loss. It was open space, like the empty branch of that tree. The night moved slowly, as if it were in no hurry. The cicadas had gone quiet, and the scent of lotus began to awaken beside the still waters of the pond. Master Kaisen leaned gently against the wooden pillar, and his words drifted like leaves carried by the current. As time passed, the tree stopped asking why the bird had left. It no longer wondered what might have been if things had turned out differently. It no longer searched the sky for signs, nor read the creaking of its branches as omens of return. Simply lived. And that was when something curious happened. One day, an old traveler sat beneath its shade. He stayed there for hours in silence, eyes closed, as if listening to a music only he could hear. When he rose to leave, he touched the tree's trunk and whispered, "Thank you for being as you are." The tree didn't respond, trees don't speak. But from one of its high branches, a flower gently fell to the earth. It was its way of smiling. Kaisen closed his eyes for a moment, allowing the disciple to feel the story not just with his ears, but with his heart. Then, in a soft voice, he added, "Sometimes what leaves is not meant to return, because its departure is the beginning of something deeper, something that has no name yet." The disciple remained silent. Something warm was spreading through his chest, like an ember that didn't burn, but gently touched him from within. It wasn't joy nor sadness. It was a formless calm, as if he had finally allowed himself to stop holding on to what could no longer be. "Master," he whispered, "does letting go mean accepting that he's not coming back?" Kaisen looked at him with deep tenderness. He nodded slowly. "Letting go doesn't mean forgetting," he replied. "It means honoring what was without chaining it to the present. It means saying thank you and allowing it to leave with dignity." They sat in silence together, like two trees in the same breeze. Then the master spoke again, his voice even softer. The tree was never the same, but it became wiser. And though its favorite branch remained empty forever, new branches grew. And on those branches landed butterflies and rain and sunshine and birds that never stayed, but no longer hurt when they left. The disciple closed his eyes. He understood now that not all pain arrives to be solved. Some pain comes only to teach us how to make space in the soul, how to be whole, even with what's missing. And that sometimes, when we truly accept that something is never coming back, a peace arises that we've never known before, peace we don't ask for, but receive. The disciple inhaled slowly, letting the night air fill his lungs. There was no more hurry, no more resistance, only a quiet nod from within, like a river that, after pushing against a stone, finally flows around it without ceasing to be a river. "Master," he whispered, "I think I've been holding on to a memory as if it were a promise. But it wasn't. It was just a moment that was meant to end." Kaisen nodded with calm. Many confuse permanence with love. But true love doesn't need to stay to have been real. Some presences come only to show you a part of yourself. And then they leave. Like a bird's song. Like the light of dawn. "And still," the disciple said, looking up at the sky, "they're beautiful." Kaisen smiled. In his eyes lived centuries of patience. Exactly. Beauty doesn't always lie in what lasts, but in what it awakens within us. And sometimes, when we no longer expect something to return, a new kind of life begins to bloom. The disciple bowed his head, not in sorrow but in gratitude. At last he understood. What had gone was not lost. It lived within him, like the bird's song echoing through the leaves. And that night, for the first time in a long while, he slept in peace. Dawn slipped over the temple like a gentle caress. The first rays of sunlight painted the rooftops in gold, and the lotus flowers slowly began to open, as if waking from a long, silent dream. The disciple stepped into the garden, still feeling the story quietly blooming inside his chest. Everything looked the same, and yet, something within him had shifted. He stopped beneath a cherry tree, just beginning to blossom. He watched as a single petal drifted down, softly, without resistance. It did not fight the wind. It did not beg to stay. Simply let go. And in that gesture, he found the teaching. He's not coming back. He whispered to himself, and that is okay. He no longer looked back seeking answers. He now walked forward, with silence and reverence for what had been. Not because he had forgotten, but because he had finally made it part of him. Like an invisible root, holding up his new way of blooming. From a distance, Master Kaisen watched him with a quiet smile. He knew not all lessons need words. Some only need time, and the willingness to let go. And so, as the sun rose and life moved on, the disciple took a deep breath, closed his eyes for a moment, and kept walking, because not everything returns, but everything leaves something behind. And sometimes, what remains is more than enough.